Welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. It is Monday, February 15th, 2021, 10 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Beautiful, icy, cold Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, but that's Wisconsin for you. So there you go. Well, it's Monday. We'll talk about some outside the gaming stuff. Today we're going to take a look at March 4th for GM's Day. What the heck is that? It's a gamer holiday, like Mother's or Father's Day. It's meant to give a chance for players and other GMs, if they play sometimes, to honor their long-suffering, downtrodden game masters who are working so hard. Turn that light down. That's running a little hot. I'm looking a little more pasty-faced than usual, and that's not good. Who's floating around in the chat there? I see we got a couple of lurkers. Say hello if you're in there. We are talking about March 4th for GM's Day, huh? I'm gonna dig up a couple of pages because that is. Wonder if it's gonna be hard to search because finding that original thread. Web Holiday, International GM's Day. So Web Holidays actually has a thing. Morris jumped all over the URL for GM's Day and put up his own site, and I don't really care. I don't know if he expected me to care. I don't think it's important. I think what I've always felt about GM's Day was it needs to be a holiday for everybody, and if somebody tries to corner the market on it, it would probably do it some harm, or at least it wouldn't be helping the cause. Let me get rid of a couple of things here so we can pop over. Yeah, I guess this is GM's Day. Oh, that was 2019. Oh, okay. Here we go. Morris wrote something up a couple of years ago. We'll get back to that. Let's see. Heathen 72 is his name now. I'm going to switch over to this other view. There we go. This is on EN World. This is yeah, there we go. We can see everything if we do it this way. That's good. We can move in a little closer too. EN World. So December 4th, 2002. It was here, we're going to put me on there. I don't know what good that does. Just get me down in the corner. There we go. So on this day, December 4th, 2002, a young man by the name, well, you know what? He was going by the name Spunkrat back then, which is interesting enough, I suppose. He's since changed it on EN World to Heathen 72. So still, still fighting the system. But in actuality, Michael Broadstock is his name. And his name's on other sites that specify GM's Day, so it's not like he's hiding behind a computer screen or anything. But he began with, it's clear from another thread I was reading that GMs out there don't feel appreciated. And clearer still that many don't appreciate the amount of work their GMs are putting into their games. So what I propose is GM's Day. GM's Day is the day the gaming community would celebrate all the hard work of our GMs, all the hard work our GMs do for us. It would be like Mother's Day or Father's Day and give us a chance to pamper our GM. Maybe we could run a game for them as well. Of course, it would get all commercialized, and gaming stores would put ads up like, "What are you getting your GMs for this GM's Day?" And we would all end up spending lots of money, but that all comes later. And we need to now is to pick a day. All the good ones are taken, of course, December 25th, April 1st, February 14th, October 31st. So all we have left is the also ran days. What are your suggestions? Now, he edited later and put up this because I happened to see that right away and I put 0304. It's a day in a command, March 4th for GM's Day. So I signed on right away and also have been flogging this thing. And I don't think of it as a commercialized holiday. First off, I don't think a lot of brick and mortar game stores actually make that big a deal of it. Of course, while I was managing Lake Geneva Games before we temporarily closed for the pandemic, I would make some bit of a deal about it, but not to sell stuff. Uh, my suggestion is make sure you bring the snacks that day. Do something for the GM. Bring him a mini you picked up and painted, or write him something. Write some ideas. Don't argue with him that evening. Anything he says goes. Anyway, um, somebody said, "Well, it's my son's birthday and easy to remember," but and I would get presents too, and not my son, said Astral. Would it be selfish? Yeah. And the truth is, any day we picked was gonna be somebody's birthday, right? As it happens, also 6 years later to the day after he actually mentioned that he thought it was a fine idea as well, Gary passed. So I'm not one who's superstitious or believes in any kind of omens, but it certainly is a fine enough thing to honor both one of the original GMs, DMs, Dungeon Masters, Game Masters from the early days, referees, as far as RPGs are concerned, Dungeon Master. Well, referee, because when he wrote original Dungeons and Dragons, the person running the games was called a referee, just as it is in or was in war games at the time, when a neutral arbiter would be on hand when sides were fighting it out on a sand table or on the game table, and they would have somebody there who could help interpret the rules and make sure that everybody was following them properly and not making any mistakes, and let the strategies and tactics rule the day. A lot of people chimed in. It quickly became a thing. GM's Day, March 4th for GM's Day. 2019, just 2 years ago, Morris posted about it again. And and that is not to say that he waited this long. He was all over it right away too. He recognized that Michael Broadstock had a great idea, just as I did, and the two of us and many other small D20 third-party publishers at the time uh, made it a uh, made it a holiday very quickly. DM, storyteller, referee, sure, any of those are fair game for people. Morning there, Stu. How you doing? Hey, Sarah. Thanks for stopping in the chat there. Appreciate it. We're talking about GM's Day. We're talking about GM's Day there. March 4th, the gamer holiday. And, March 4th, be sure to show some appreciation to your GM. Perhaps buy them a gift. offer to pay for the pizza that night. Simply say thank you. You know, I think anybody who's GM'd run games for a while or any length of time knows sometimes it feels a little thankless, and because sometimes people forget to thank you. And it's nice when players go out of the way to say, they enjoy the game, even if there were some stumbles and it wasn't the wasn't your best game being run ever. Still saying thank you because even when your game's not perfect, it still takes quite a bit to make it as good as it is, no matter how bad it is. How do I say that? I'm not sure. Anyway, webholidays.com has picked up on the idea of GM's Day. There you go. Official site, GM's Day International. Here it is. International GM's Day. 1, 2, 3 pips on that die. 1, 2, 3, 4 pips on that die. 3, 4. March 4th. Always easy to remember. And raise a glass for Gary while you're there, because everybody that has ever GM'd will tell you. Drive-Thru RPG does a lot of stuff every year for GM's Day as well. So make sure. John Kovalik, hilarious cartoonist. Yesterday was Game Masters Appreciation Day. Why don't more gamers celebrate this? Game Masters do so much for us. They're the first ones to learn the new rules and the ones to do all the planning and prep work. Good morning, Jay. Working from home. It's cold out there in Jersey, huh? They do all the research and all the mapping and storytelling, and we gamers owe them so much. The game industry owes them so much. Yet, for all their hard work, they get so few things. So few people celebrate the Game Masters on Game Masters Appreciation Day. Why? And the fellow behind the screen says, if this is about that Turbonium dragon eating your 29th level Vol Slayer again, because they're jerks. Anyway, those are my preliminary findings, he says. He lost a character. There you go. It's so unfair, says Robin. I just won't celebrate GM's Day until there's a player day. Smack! Every day a GM runs a game as Player's Day. So true. In memoriam of Gary. There we go. So it's a nice site over there. He picked that up. He set it up in 2013. So about 11 years after when it really was becoming a gamer holiday online in earnest. Everybody was celebrating it online. Again, not a lot of people offline celebrating it, but so it goes. There we go. Push that back. If we can close those down. So, how we doing on time? Well, about halfway through. So we got time to talk about some other things. What about? Well, I'll tell you what. Most years when it comes to GM's Day, I'm usually advocating that when we get together, you buy the pizza, or when we gather, maybe um, somebody who was threatening to run a game themselves, give it a shot. So that's always a possibility online still. Run a game for your GM. Run a game for a bunch of GMs. Put a call out. It's let's see, 14, 15, 16, 17 days away. Plenty of time to put it together. It's on a Thursday this year. So if you want to run a game on a Thursday night, just remember that it's GM's Day. This is the 19th year. No, this would be the 18th year. That was December 2002. So 2003 was the first GM's Day. So this will be 19 years or 18 years. We get 2 more years for the 20th anniversary. But run a game. Set something up. Do a little of that reading prior to your game that week, because you don't have to play or run on the fourth proper. It's Thursday, so all week, all weekend. Whenever you schedule your game, make that your GM's Day celebration, closest as it is to the holiday. Maybe talk to your GM about getting hold of some setting material. Maybe he's got a big pile of stuff he's been begging everybody to read so they know his setting a little better. And maybe doing that will make his job easier. His or her, I say he, I should say, their job easier. We'll talk about it in the plural because there's all sorts of GMs out there. Many, many, many. More than ever, probably. There was a little discussion online in a group on Facebook just the other day about what's the most popular, what is the most, what is the busiest. Hmm. Oh, I see what's going on there. Let's do that. Will make me all big. So, Gandhi the Giant. The discussion was, are there more people playing now D&D, and is it the most popular RPG around? And truth be told, nobody has the numbers. But quite honestly, I don't think there's ever been, except once maybe, a game that was close to as popular. And when I say popular, I mean most people playing it, or as many people playing it as there are, as D&D in any of its editions in the period in which it is the current edition. It may well be there's more Pathfinder players now than there are first edition D&D players, but, and I'm not talking about all D&D players ever. I'm saying when an edition was actually the current edition, are there more people playing it than at that time any other role-playing game? And I don't think, I don't, logic dictates that that's almost definitely true. There was a period of time where uh, fourth edition was stumbling, it wasn't as popular. A lot of people jumped over to play Pathfinder because it was essentially a rules revision of Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. A lot of people call it 3.75, D&D 3.75 when they talk about Pathfinder. And I think that's fair to say because there were more rules added on and more classes and more this and more that. But at its core, it was essentially third edition 3.5. Kind of refer to it all in the 3.x era of D&D, right? But fourth edition came out and Pathfinder already gained a lot of steam. And even then, 2008, a lot of people switched over and started running Pathfinder when fourth came out and was rejected by a large swath of the D&D faithful. I'm not saying nobody played it. I'm saying a lot of people played it, but not as many as they could have had playing it if Pathfinder hadn't existed. And Pathfinder was an answer to the fact that a new edition was coming out. And they did a playtest on it. They did a playtest, an open playtest on Pathfinder too, kind of just before and somewhat concurrently with fourth edition's uh, playtest. So there was a chance for the two to compete side by side in some at some kitchen tables or in some basements, and ultimately, I think that slowed the roll of fourth edition, and by 2014, they needed to get a new edition out. Um, in fact, I'm sure they worked on that for a year and a half, maybe 2 years prior. So really, it was only 4 years of pushing 4E onto its player base that Wizards of the Coast started thinking and began creating a new edition in earnest. Summer, July 2014 was when we picked up, when it first came out, the starter set for 5th edition. I ran a few campaigns in that. I took the group I was playing with, playing 1st edition with, in fact, who had all started at different times, but as early as the very beginnings of D&D and on through 3rd edition. Um, so it was a nice kind of, and some who had played some 4th edition. So it was a nice group of 6 players, 5 players that all. Well, we added a 6th player midway along, and we played through that starter set. Gave it a nod as a solid edition of D&D, and I ran a couple other campaigns of it. Although my first love, 1st edition, always called me back, and I definitely continue to run 1st edition alongside those other games, especially for conventions. Gary Con's about old school gaming. Gary Con's where I like to go and play every year. As many war games as I can play in. Definitely like to play original D&D and 1st edition. Sometimes 2nd or 3rd. Um, Depends how the schedule shakes out, but those original and 1st, absolutely. I like to run a game of 1st. I like to run Divine Right. I like to run Civilization, Avalon Hill's original, not the later Sid Meier Civilization. And and then I like to play in as many OSR games as I can. I've played a number of times in um, Swords and Sorcerers of Hyperborea, Astonishing Swords and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. A lot of fun. Hey George, how's it going? Welcome to uh, welcome to the chat room on the stream. Yeah, if you're here following, follow the channel if you haven't already, and jump into the chat. Just say hello to people. If you're catching up with this on YouTube, and we usually have it up there within an hour after the show, um, give us a thumbs up if you like in the show, and if you like the idea of the OK Grognard show. Subscribe to the channel. Feel free to jump into the conversation over there as well. We've got a Facebook group you can join if you like. Just add yourself to the membership. We'll approve it pretty quick. We, require approval. We get some spam stuff going on sometimes, so we just don't want a pile of stuff happening in the middle of the night when we're not there to police it. Anywho, I don't know. What else do we want to say? Any questions? Gary Con is a great way to experience different DM styles and players. Yeah, absolutely true. Um, I always run at least 3 different things. I try to get my 18 hours in, and usually there's 6 hour things. Sometimes, if I'm a little short, I'll run a little board game or something, a couple hours to fit in a slot somewhere. But some great GMs over there, and of course, if you haven't been before, if you haven't played under them, definitely buy the bigger badge when it's a physical and get in a game with the old timers from TSR. The likes of Ernie Gygax and Jim Ward and Tim Kask and Jeff Leeson and whoever else is running a game that Harold Johnson, Steve Sullivan, you know, uh, and of course many other long time gamers. All the cats from Troll Lords, of course, and Chris Clark, Inner City Games, who's got a Kickstarter going, by the way. Go check that out if you. He's got a new edition of his RPG rules up on Kickstarter. Have a look, see if you like it, and you can play under just so many different. Janelle Jaques will run, and she did so much great artwork in the early days. And speaking of artists, you've got all sorts of Easley and Elmore and Diesel and absolutely all those. But this is all about the physical convention. This year we got to go virtual again. Run some games online. You've had most of a year to get better at it. I know that's been my pursuit over the past 10 months is to get myself in virtual GMing shape so I could run games. I ran a bunch of games in the fall at different conventions. Earlier in the summer, I ran a bunch, 18 hours, Con of Champions. I'll be running a bunch of stuff for GaryCon too, and we'll have to get that stuff up. The Any other questions from the stream, or shall we wind it down? Well, let's wind it down. It's been a good day. We'll be back on Thursday, 10 a.m. Um, we need to talk about something in game. What will it be? I don't even know. Sometimes I wait till the day before I decide. George says I run a very good virtual game. Thank you, George, very much. George played in games I played in the fall, a couple of different ones. I ran a game at Virtual Greyhawk Con, which, by the way, there we go, popped off for a second there. If Jay's still here, he knows he had a very successful Virtual Greyhawk Con in the fall. There was the Autumn Revel, which is a sister con to Gary Con, and all sorts of fun then. And of course, later in the fall was Gamehole Con. So, but Greyhawk Con's going to have a mini convention within Gary Con, so there'll be lots of virtual Greyhawk games on the schedule to jump into. So you'll enjoy them. You'll be familiar. Well, that about winds it up, says the clock on the wall. We'll take a look at that there. Uh-oh, what do we got? I think we need to do. Oh, I see. I bigified the. There we go. I bigified the screen so I could see the browser when we were looking at websites. Anyway, March 4th for GM's Day. It's just 17 days away. Get ready for it. Just run a game. Or if you play under a different GM, give him a big thank you. Give him a big virtual thank you. Maybe send him something nice. It's a good thing to appreciate your GM. Again, Monday and Thursday, 10 a.m. Central is when we do the OK Grognard show here on Twitch live stream. Come join us. Follow the channel. Thanks, Stu. See you too. Have a good day, everybody. I will say this has been the OK Grognard show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Come on back. See us again. Thank you very much, and bye bye.